Here's a Metra Rock Island line commuter train ready to head into LaSalle Street Station here at Joliet, Illinois. Oh folks, we just quadrupled our pleasure. It's a beautiful Tuesday evening, August 26, 2025. It's now 6:05 p.m. First we saw an eastbound Union Pacific Railroad intermodal train, probably coming from their Global 4 intermodal facility here in Joliet, Illinois, not far in that direction. And He could be eventually headed west on the Union Pacific main line to Los Angeles or Long Beach, California. And here he was on the Union Pacific Railroad Joliet Subdivision. And then beyond Joliet, he was on the Canadian National Railway Joliet Subdivision. And the line originally was the main line of the Gulf Mobile and Ohio Railroad between Chicago and St. Louis. Then we saw Metra Heritage Corridor Train 917 arriving from Chicago Union Station and departing down here and then backing around the connecting track into the Metra Joliet Yard. And here we see Metra Rock Island line commuter train ready to head from Joliet here into LaSalle Street Station, Chicago, Illinois. And then we saw a westbound BNSF Railway unit auto rack train. I want you to take a look at this diamond crossing. More about that in a minute or two. Pay attention to the single track line, which was the main line of the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad. In this direction, the line is only used by Iowa Interstate Freights and CSX Transportation Freights. Here we have a look at UD Tower, Union Depot Tower, formerly UD Tower. Here we have a look at Joliet, the upper level of Joliet Union Station, not the ground level. More about that shortly. The population of Joliet, Illinois here is 150,362. This is a Union Station. The upper level uses a banquet hall now, like for wedding receptions. It opened in 1912, closed in 2014. It's owned by the city of Joliet. It's as I said, operated as a banquet hall on this elevated level. The architecture is Beaux Arts style. Architect was Chicago-based Jarvis Hunt, who also designed Kansas City Union Station. It was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1978 in recognition of its architecture. And then UD Tower over here was built in 1913. Now it's the Joliet Railroad Museum. It's open 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. A little bit about that diamond crossing. They are known as OWLS crossings, one-way low speed. That's the single track line, is the one-way, is the low speed line used by Iowa Interstate Freights such as Symbol Freight, BICB, Blue Island, Council Bluffs. Come by here about 8:30 tonight. The one-way low-speed diamond frogs are used in their namesake diamonds, often referred to as OWLS diamonds. These types of frogs are analogous to jump frogs and turnouts. The higher traffic line, that would be the Union Pacific and the BNSF, all these first two tracks are the BNSF Railway Chillicothe Subdivision, originally the main line of the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe Railway between Chicago and California, now the BNSF Railway Southern Transcon. And these type of frogs are analogous to jump frogs and turnouts. The higher traffic lines, that would be here the Union Pacific Railroad and the BNSF Railway lines, cross the diamond on a normal rail surface in tread bearing mode, and the lower traffic line, that's the single track line, crosses over the higher traffic line in flange bearing mode. Because there is no flangeway gap to cross on the higher traffic line, vehicles using this line can cross the diamonds at the maximum speed allowed by the track design. Because the lower traffic line is in a situation where gauge restraint is reduced, and because it has to cross over the flangeway gap for the higher traffic lines, vehicles using this line are limited to speeds at or below 10 miles per hour, such as Iowa Interstate Railroad BICB later this evening. OWLS diamonds are commonly used where a rail line with very little traffic operating at low speed crosses a rail line with considerably more traffic operating at higher speeds. The secondary run flange bearing surface uses explosion hardened manganese castings. The one-way low-speed crossing is used at locations where the traffic on secondary track has low speeds not exceeding 10 miles per hour and very few trains. The high impacts associated with wheels jumping the flangeway gaps on conventional crossings are significant, with the OWLS crossing by the use of flange-bearing ramps on the secondary. Let me repeat that. The high impacts associated with wheels jumping the flangeway gaps on conventional crossings are significantly reduced with the OWLS crossing by the use of flange-bearing ramps on the secondary track. In other words, the wheel flanges on the single track line actually are a little higher than the rails of the Union Pacific Railroad and the BNSF Railway. I don't think the wheel flanges are actually touching the rails. This allows the wheel flange to run over the top of the main line, which eliminates the flangeway gaps on the mainline track. The elimination of flangeway gaps and joints provides for a continuous running surface on the mainline tracks, allowing trains to run without speed restrictions. Impact reduction significantly reduces maintenance compared to conventional crossings. The mainline run uses high-strength head-hardened rail. And it is now about 6:15 p.m. on a beautiful Tuesday evening, August 26, 2025, Joliet, Illinois, over and out.